Welcome to the Show, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything. I'm Brady.
And I'm Katie.
And today we're going to talk about sleep. Alright, well, I'm tired today. How about you?
Oh, if tired was like currency, I would be Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. Speaking of currency, I think that sleep is one of the most valuable commodities on the planet right now for everybody, and I'm hoping that's unanimous when I say that, but I don't see it being any other way. It's the one thing that we just cannot get more of.
I understand completely. You know, like you were just talking about what you were up all night last night listening to music. Was that what it was? Because you couldn't sleep?
Yeah, so I have this routine like once every couple weeks. I go through my music app. Shout out to YouTube Music, I guess. I miss Google Play Music, but whatever. I guess it's a more stable app. Anyway.
Dang.
I have a routine where I go through and I look at all the new release music. And that's what it started out with last night. Normally I stay up a little late every night anyway. I come to terms, especially last night, with the fact that I might have insomnia. But it started out browsing through new music, and then I found a way to discover like more related artists that I've never heard of, like up and coming ones.
Okay.
And so I went down this like music rabbit hole, and I just didn't end up going to sleep till about 4:30. I just kept tossing and turning. Even after I took the headphones off, I was like, I just couldn't get comfortable for like 3 hours.
Do you find that if you stay up after a certain time, or if you're woke up at a certain time, that you're going to be up for at least 2 hours minimum? Because if I'm up after 1, I might as well forget about going to sleep till like 5 or 6. And if I wake up at 1 or 2, I'm up till 5 or 6.
My baseline like is about 2 a.m. is when I normally go to bed if it's a late night.
Really?
Like it usually happens one of two ways. I will either fall asleep quite quickly about 10 p.m. or I'll be up till 2 a.m. But there's just every once in a while where I past that I can't sleep.
Oh, well, do you think it's because a lot of times when I had insomnia, it's because I have anxiety about something, which is quite common in my world, because I'm always fretting about everything, and the more I fret, the less I can sleep, which then makes the whole situation worse, because when you have anxiety, you're not doing anybody any favors, it's just your brain chemicals being stupid.
That's true.
And it's not helping you with anything. I don't know, there's something to be said about like exercises that help you work through anxiety.
Yeah.
Because sleep is supposed to help with anxiety, but you're in this like weird death spiral of you can't sleep because you're thinking about the things.
Yeah, it's the vicious circle.
It's like yin and yang of doom.
And the more sleep that you miss, the more anxious you feel.
Exactly.
Sleep is very interesting. The fact that we are animals, hell-bent on survival, yet we have to shut down for a multitude of hours. Like a third of our day is recommended.
And there's only, there's 1,440 minutes. So how many minutes of that? I think the recommended absolute minimum amount of sleep that you truly need to function is 6 hours. And they recommend 7 or 8.
I would say 7 is probably the average recommended amount of sleep.
Yeah, well, I mean like the minimum.
For good health.
Yeah,
the minimum would be 6, but I think I've heard experts say that even that is just really doing yourself a disservice. Yeah, very pushing it. And it's just weird that we need that much time to just shut down, but your body kind of goes into overdrive when you're in sleep mode, like especially in Rem sleep, the rapid eye movement.
It's very important.
When you're in that stage of sleep, is that like the delta brain waves or something? I would have to look that up, but...
Yeah, well, and if you don't get into... That's another thing. If you're not sleeping well, or if you have anxiety, or you're not insomnia, you don't get into REM, and you have to get into REM to have wellness. Like,
yes,
there's tons of studies about that.
That's when your body essentially heals itself. As you know, your cells are dividing. Every single cell in your body constantly are dividing.
Yes.
And, sometimes errors occur, and your body will correct those, but normally that's when you're sleeping. Also, if you've done any kind of exercise at all during the day, you probably tore some muscle fibers. Even if it's something as simple as like you went out and grabbed a package off your porch, there's a chance you tore a couple muscle fibers, you just don't know it. Your body will heal those while you sleep. Your brain, rebalances all of the chemical processes that happen when you're awake.
So it's rejuvenation time.
Yeah, I mean, it's sleep, yeah.
Well, then here's the problem.
You're supposed to be rejuvenated after sleeping. That's the entire point of shutting down. Just like your computer.
Is our entire culture is based upon productivity and getting as much possible as done as you can get in a day. And then we also have an entire industry designed to overwrite that process, which is all the energy drinks. And I mean, look at all of that.
Yeah, I personally have always noticed like a huge disbalance in probably everybody's life between being awake and being asleep. Because, like you said, there's like a contradicting system that we've created to be productive all day.
Yeah.
And it's almost like sleep is like the only thing that is expected for you to sacrifice to, have more time to be productive. And I think I touched on this a little bit. Was it one of the last couple episodes? Mm-hmm. But it's like you can't add more time to the day.
You can't.
And because the societal systems we've created kind of work from a schedule of, I would say, anywhere between like 6 a.m. and, 10 p.m., let's just say.
Okay.
That still doesn't leave like the most room for an ample amount of sleep for everybody, especially if you have anything extra to do.
Well, and doesn't it make more sense? This is just my theory on this. I feel like I would much rather have a world based on that we have. I feel like when you're fully rested and you take care of yourself and you're at your most productive, your most creative, instead of just, I did 5 tasks today, because I'm really good at doing 45 tasks, but I can't do the most beautiful, awesome, amazing tasks because I'm deprived of everything,
Yeah.
Especially sleep.
Exactly. And I've done a lot of research on sleep. I'm not an expert by any means, but some of the experts, I was reading some articles and listening to some podcasts about it, and they were saying essentially with sleep deprivation, you're kind of just digging yourself a hole. Mm-hmm. You can't ever fill it back in. There's no way to regain the sleep you've lost. You could, let's say you get 3 hours of sleep, much like I did last night.
Okay.
And it was completely interrupted as well a couple times.
Gross.
But you get 3 hours of sleep, let's say, when obviously you're going to need 7. You can never make up that extra 4 hours of sleep. Even if you slept 14 hours the next day, it doesn't
make up the deficit.
Yeah, that deficit happens. Like the damage is already done, and you can't undo it.
Well, and also, I don't know about you, but say you know how you do the 3 hours of sleep. I just try to get up at the same time or almost the same time every day, because sleeping in now, I feel gross. Mm-hmm. Like you said, that 14 hours of sleep, you feel disgusting. I felt like more worse than I did with the 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I find it kind of odd that you can get also too much sleep.
Yes.
Because I don't feel good when I sleep 10 hours, 14 hours. But I don't think I've ever slept 14 hours.
I used to
even
have
when
to
I was
sleep.
A stoner.
When my whole thyroid thing was so foobarred and messed up and all that stuff, and I was really ill, I had to sleep 12 hours every day. And I had toddlers. This was very complicated. Thank you, my husband, for helping me. Just to even function.
Yeah.
But that was because of a biochemical imbalance. And so I'll never forget. I think that's part of the reason I don't want to sleep too much now, but I personally need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That's what I call my old people sleep thing. Not that I'm ancient, but I grew up with a person too. My dad is one of those people who only needs 5 hours of sleep a night. They are out there. They've done studies on them. They're insane. I'm not, yeah. I don't know how, they're almost like an ADD hyperactive, at least in my personal anecdotal experience, and I don't even understand it.
Everybody's body is different.
This is true.
But I'm pretty sure the whole you need to get a certain amount of sleep thing is like across the board for everybody.
Universal, yeah.
I think a lot of people think they don't need a lot of sleep because maybe they have a really good like endocrine system or something.
They're just high functioning.
Or maybe they can just process energy better than everybody else. But that doesn't mean that the lack of sleep is not hurting them.
But you're right. We're animals. Even the most chaste deer
has
sleep. To lay down and sleep at some point. And I wonder, though, I think about this. You just was talking about that you can't ever get that deficit back. We have people that have children then are living in a permanent deficit then.
Yes.
Because you will never, or people that are doctors, like in internships.
Oh, yeah, that's one big thing. I have to cut you off there to talk about that because it's really important. Like we trust like these surgeons with our lives to make these precise incisions when they're doing surgery, especially like the neurosurgeons.
Oh, I know. You cannot mess up.
There's a lot of room for error. And these people are usually working 17, 18 hours straight, if not more. And we're trusting them. We're going in there expecting, these guys are professional. There's not going to make any mistakes. Don't worry. Meanwhile, he seems all friendly. Probably, I'm sure they take something. There's got to be drugs they know about that we don't that are pretty good to keep you awake and focused, if not methamphetamine. There's a lot of
We're not
doctors.
saying doctors do that.
I just don't know how they could get through like the internships and stuff after med school without cocaine. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, I digress. The point I was trying to make is like there's a lot of professions out there that have these mad working hours but they also are. It's like a job that also requires you to be like focused and in your prime. But if you go past like 12 hours without any sleep, or I don't know if it's 12 hours. Again, I'm sleep deprived, so I got to do some math here.
I feel like it might be more than that because I can still focus pretty good after 12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours is normal. I don't know.
It might be 24.
Let's just say if you've gone like 20 hours and you haven't slept, you're going to notice, you're going to be fuzzy. You're not going to be, unless you have any kind of chemical alteration.
Well, I can intervene here a little bit. My husband was in the military, and when they're in the field, they do not get good sleep. They'll go hard, and he told me that it's training. You train, and so it's instinctual. Like that deer that's laying in the shrubbery over there. If a lion jumps in, or a bear, it's going to instinctually bolt. Yeah. And then that was a lot of what their training was, is that you didn't even think about it. You just precisely reacted.
So that way you don't even have to be focused the whole time. It's just a reactionary
And I feel like maybe
instinct.
the doctors, it's that way too. They train.
You would hope so.
But I kind of makes me look forward to the robot overlords coming. Not overlords, but you know what I'm talking about, AI and all that. Because they don't need to sleep.
Yeah.
They just need a solid source of energy. And that is the whole point, I think, of us needing to sleep, is our mitochondrial DNA. And we are an organic system. And so we are not able to just keep going without recharging.
Exactly.
I mean, it's almost like recharging your phone. The battery gets drained at some point. That's why nutrition is important. But I think you're right. I think sleep is one of the single greatest things, and we take advantage of it.
Now, because you're bringing up like AI, like robotics and stuff, and just technology in general, I wish that they could create some kind of a device. Maybe it's something you wear on your head or an implant. Maybe when the Neuralink happens, they can implement this as a process. But like, imagine if you could stimulate your brain with the same like brain waves that are happening when you're sleeping, and somehow be asleep while you're awake. Like, you still get the biological functions of being asleep without completely shutting down, and you can still be alert and like active.
But can you be conscious when you're in that state?
That's the thing. I don't know, and I'm sure that if this was possible, it probably would have been done by now.
I don't know.
Maybe it has been done, and it's only like accessible by like the Illuminati.
No, they eat children parts. Remember?
Yeah. That's right. It's the adrenochrome.
The adrenochrome, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But
real quick on that note, I saw a meme yesterday that was it was a picture of like the Monsters Inc. movie cover.
Okay.
And it was like, did you know this movie is about harvesting adrenochrome?
Oh my.
And child trafficking?
Did someone hashtag that with Save the Children? Because
No, I don't know what that was a missed opportunity for sure. But I just had to point that out as just a funny meme.
The internet will always take advantage. Well, and it's just like, that's a whole nother conversation, because I don't like how people just care about something because that's always been there. Yeah. Just because some other people started squawking about it. I guess that's how humans work, though. I'm sort of crabby with humans right now, though, because yesterday I experienced a whole bunch of displays of stupid human behavior.
Yeah.
And I think, does that come... I also think you are not on your best when you are sleep deprived. Like right now, I'm cranky because I haven't had enough rest.
I'm in this weird state of like, I guess, like indifference or something. I don't know.
Apathy?
Like, normally I'm pretty cranky when I'm tired, especially after only a couple hours of sleep. I'm just more kind of calm today.
Well, calm's not bad.
I haven't had any stimuli to really set off my anger either, so...
Well...
I could be part of it. I don't know. I played Red Dead Redemption most of the morning just to try to...
because you robbed not real things. You're feeling good.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I took out my anger on virtual NPCs.
I stole someone's pocket watch. I'm feeling great.
Exactly.
Well, isn't that interesting how virtual things might make you feel better? Like, maybe it's better than doing the actual thing itself. I feel like everybody has thought about doing stuff.
Sorry about the train, guys, real quick. 1 second.
We love the train.
Yeah, we're recording it at my house today, and it's just impossible to soundproof a train when it's like a block and a half away.
We are working on our own studio because we have our own room for it, and we're going to get there after we have some sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
But continue. I'm sorry, but that stinking train, man.
That's okay. I think it makes it more authentic. Well, it's another thing. Noises. After having babies, and not just baby humans, I've had a lot of baby animals. I'm bottle feeding 2 baby calves right now. You stay in this sense of permanent awareness once you do children things, like having children and caring for things. I don't even know if I sleep as deep as I used to. Maybe I do now. It's been a while since I've had babies. Because the bottle calves are different. It's like I'm on a schedule. I'm out there all the time. But it's not the same as a baby human where that little child makes a squeak and you're instant. Even if you're not aware of it, your body's like, huh.
Right.
I don't know if that. So you have this train going by, somebody's car. There might be some cops. I wonder if that interferes with your.
That dang train all night long. And it's like every 20 minutes.
It comes by.
And when I first moved here, it had been years and years and years since I slept near a train track.
Okay.
I used to have an apartment that was like I think 150 to 200 feet away from like a train bridge.
Oh my!
So it was a little bit louder because it's also the iron bridge that really resonated those vibrations.
Did it like vibrate your house?
It was bad, yeah. And but I slept through it back then. But then when I moved out here, it was kind of hard to get used to the train again, and so I wasn't getting a lot of sleep then either because like I don't know. It's very odd that you're shut down completely. You have no motor function that you have conscious control over. Yet there's these systems in place to like alert you and wake you out of that sleep if like I guess a potential threatening noise happens and you need to run, like survival instinct kicks in or something. And obviously as a mother, your brain's trained to like if the baby starts crying to wake up and deal with that.
Yeah, like
and it's just weird that there's these systems in our brain. It's completely subconscious. No, like we don't have any conscious control over these things. It just kind of happens.
Well, and our bodies may rest,
odd.
but the brain is never off.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Your body shuts down completely. Like your brain releases these chemicals that paralyze you essentially.
Yeah, you're just on standby.
Once your brain, it's like, I guess you can train your brain to do this, but maybe that's what I'm lacking. But you can. It's all about like how relaxed of a state you're in.
Okay.
Obviously, that's why the anxiety doesn't help any of this. But once you relax, and it seems like it's on a fuse, like a timer, where it's like a certain amount of time in a specific relaxed state, your brain goes, okay, it's time to shut down. And it releases these like paralyzing chemicals, and it goes into like the brain waves you're emitting, like the electromagnetic waves go into like a lower frequency. And it's like all these triggers happen just because you're relaxing.
Because you're relaxing.
For a certain amount of time and not moving and not doing anything, and you're breathing a certain way. And then those systems like completely take over, and you become unconscious, and it's a completely automatic system.
Well, and I think you hit on something with training, because I used to, sometimes I'd be so exhausted I'd just fall asleep randomly in places, like with the kids and stuff. But now I go in, I go to bed, it's dark in there, the curtains are closed, TV off. It's like, I make sure it's like a cave. Yeah. And I noticed that, because I've never had trouble falling asleep ever in my life. I feel bad for people who do. I know someone that has a horrible time going to sleep. Me, if I lay down, I know. My anxiety and insomnia is more, I'll go to sleep, say at 10, and then wake up at 2. It's over for me. And then I have to sit there and read about stoicism and weird memes, and it just, or I'll do music.
The 2 a.m. rabbit hole.
I do. And you know what, sometimes though, I like that rabbit hole if I don't, but that used to be when I didn't have as much to do. Now I'm angry when I wake up because it's like, I only have this much time to sleep. And see, that goes back to our lives are so busy. Yes. Like I got to be up at 6 and feed the calves and put the kids on the bus and go do, all this stuff.
One note on that is when I imagine retirement, I imagine like an abundance of time in which I can sleep more. That's not that it will ever fill in the deficit, but you still get that extra sleep. I mean, like that's I think what I'm looking forward to the most in retirement someday, because like you said, there's just all these things you got to do. You get this nice normally little chunk of time in which you can sleep. Yep. And come on, most people really only get that 6-hour chunk.
It's really about 6 hours.
And that doesn't even include the laying down and waiting to go to sleep thing. Yeah. So technically less than 6 hours of sleep.
And as a parent, if you want that little bit of quiet time to yourself, which I like to call the magic time from like 9 to 11, you could go to sleep a little earlier, which I've been doing lately because I know I need it.
Yeah.
But really, it's like, that is your sweet spot. That...
It always feels like such a sacrifice to devote extra time to sleep. But then at the same time, it feels like just as big of a sacrifice when you have to cut into sleep to do other things. It's such a weird balance.
It's like a paradox, actually, right?
It's like a paradox.
It's the sleep paradox. Well, yeah,
and we're slaves to this. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just that there's a limited time in the day. And because also our bodies are wired to do that at night specifically.
Yes.
Like, our DNA is trained to... These systems are trained to only work when the sun goes down.
The biorhythmic
that was
cycle.
Probably more or less for survival.
Yeah, because things come out at night.
Yeah, you can't see at night. You can't really do much work,
How come we don't have dark vision? And who needs to invent that for us?
Come on, evolution. Like, you're giving us the shit end of the stick here.
Or
there's so many cool things we can have. Why can't we fly? I don't know. I know there's forces in nature and shit, but, like, come on. Look at the bumblebee.
I just want dark vision.
Give us something. Come
on.
Dark vision would be perfect.
I got big ol' owl eyes. I know I got space in there for you guys to laser something. I want to be able to see it dark. I always did.
Well, here's something, excuse my language, but fuck you, evolution. The reason we are so awesome as a species is because instead of putting in the millions of years of survival to adapt and get dark vision, we created technology and microchips, and we have night vision goggles.
Well, yeah. And you know that...
So it's better.
It's coming. You know that Vin Diesel movie? It's like 20 years old
Pitch
now.
Black.
Yes. He had the ultraviolet...
Oh.
I want ultraviolet.
That would be so cool.
He got it because he lived down in a prison that was black, which... I mean, that would have been cool, and not really, but I would have loved to have ultraviolet. Can you imagine but I wouldn't want it to be always UV. I would like it to be able to click on the side of my head, and just in the daylight, I get to do normal human vision, but then you could also have UV at night, which is what goggles are. That is something great about us, is we are able...
We've invented that. Instead of waiting, we said fuck waiting, and we invented stuff to do it. And now, that's a whole nother conversation on the limited amount of resources in which to create technology on Earth, but...
I want to talk about biohacking at some point. I love it.
Biohacking would be a cool topic.
We're going to have to do that. Anyways, back to sleep.
Sleep could be a really good biohack. Like I said, a device that could have you sleep while you're awake. That isn't methamphetamine.
Well, there are sensory deprivation chambers are super therapeutic.
Yes.
And I think those can I'll have to look it up. I haven't done enough research. Put you into that state. So that is a hack that might...
See... I really considered starting a float tank business, or a sensory deprivation tank business. But the startup costs and the upkeep are freaking insane.
Yeah.
And I don't personally own one, so I don't really know how exactly to do that. So it was just like, it was an idea, and it might still happen someday.
There we go.
For now, it's kind of on the back shelf. But like you were saying, they're very therapeutic. Essentially, they're these tanks filled with water and a literal insane amount of Epsom salt.
Yeah,
and the salt will help you float, and also it's pretty good for your skin from what I've heard. It
draws toxins out.
Yeah. But you float because of this salt, and so basically you have this feeling of weightlessness. The water is supposed to be body temperature or slightly warmer, so that you don't even feel like the temperature around you. It pretty much feels like you're floating in space, from what I've heard. And you're supposed to just stay absolutely still. You have these goggles that completely block out the light, or the tank itself has no light. And you are supposed to have earplugs or something that can dampen the sound around you. So you literally cut off all of the vibrational input into your brain.
You're just adrift.
And you're just your is it the id or the e? It's the id, right?
I think the id is the subconscious.
Yeah. Basically, it's a way to experience ego death without drugs, without psychedelic drugs. So your ego pretty much shuts off. You don't have any of the like I, me kind of thoughts. It's just pure existence inside a vacuum.
It's like being in utero, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think that's the closest possible thing to being in utero. But essentially, from what I've heard, it's pretty trippy to be in that state, because your mind like goes into like a overdrive essentially, and
well, it's not having to track all the stimuli that your ego has to deal with. So you're basically could be your one true self.
Yeah, exactly. And it's supposed to be like kind of like a DMT trip, where you you just kind of float through reality.
I don't know if a lot of people could handle it though. Like think of the people who are claustrophobic. Wouldn't that be the ultimate claustrophobia, to be suspended?
Oh, for sure. But
it'd be
it
good
would also
for
be
you.
it would be therapeutic to deal with claustrophobia. But to break away just from claustrophobia, but still stay with the float tank for a second. It's kind of like meditation. It's like the ultimate form of clearing your mind.
Okay.
Like you can still like consciously think and have your ego, but if you just relax and let the ego shut off, that's kind of the whole goal of meditation.
It's mindfulness.
Right? Mindfulness and being truly in the very moment that you're existing. And I think that could alleviate a lot of anxiety.
Well, use it. I think they use it a lot for mental health purposes.
That's kind of the whole
it's
point
whole
behind
point
those.
of it. It's
Not to mention, it's just absolutely relaxing.
Which I think that's another thing. I don't think you can truly get into a good sleep mode without being completely at rest. Like, I think you can fall asleep when you're stressed, but it's not good sleep.
No, there's no way that you get quality sleep.
Yeah, and there's differences between sleep.
Yeah, it sucks because sometimes you can get sleep, but it's not good sleep, and then you just feel like crap when you wake up, even if you get 8 hours of sleep, and it's just like...
And usually when you get in that cycle, it's multiple days in a row.
Yeah, and here's the weird thing about it. Sleep is so important. Getting good sleep is so important.
Yes.
Nobody really teaches you how to sleep. You just are expected to... It's supposed to just be instinctual process, but like, it really needs to be managed.
And what's funny is every other thing in our existence, you're supposed to be taught. Like, we all have learned, and so there's experts at things.
Well, except for doing taxes. That's like the one thing we're always thrown into the fire with, I've noticed.
You're just supposed to magically...
I think you're expected to hire a lawyer, to be honest, even for just a simple 1040 EZ.
Do you think...
They just expect you going out of fucking public school... Oh, you just go hire a fucking tax expert.
Well, I think that's something we need to talk about someday.
I digress.
Is
really
how
bad
we don't teach math that actually is applied to our everyday lives. What's a checkbook? So, not that we use those anymore.
Back to
sleep. Yes.
I could go to sleep thinking about taxes.
Well, that is just, in fact, that might be some sort of therapy, tax therapy to help people sleep.
Some people find doing taxes therapeutic.
Really?
Like this. Why in the hell would you ever be an accountant? If you don't like it.
I think accountants like order.
That's what I mean. But like once they've successfully completed somebody's complicated tax situation,
there's
I'm
order.
sure there's like a dopamine to that, a dopamine release for that. But anyway, again, I digress. Sorry, taxes, guys.
You're all taxes.
It's one of the inevitable things in life.
Well, they have been around for a while in various different forms, which I don't know. Sleep. How do we... Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. What are some like ways that you break out of that sleep deprivation cycle, or what are some therapies or self-care?
I don't know. I'm not and nobody taught me.
But you've listened to a lot of podcasts and read YouTube and... Yeah,
I have. I definitely have heard a lot. I didn't exactly want this episode to be about necessarily advice.
Well,
just because everybody's different.
About you.
But for me, again, everybody's different, so this might not work for you. But for me, for a while, I discovered on YouTube these things called binaural beats.
Okay.
And it's this like rhythmic pattern that's supposed to match like certain, I guess, harmonics of your brainwaves.
Okay.
And they can organize these rhythms in a specific way to somehow trigger sleep. And that used to work, but I kind of started to wonder if it was like the placebo effect more than anything, because like I set out to do this for a specific reason. I told myself this is to go to sleep, and then so it kind of just triggered the sleep.
So you're wondering if the routine of actually doing this?
I think it's the routine. So maybe there's something to just having a routine to go to sleep, because I think that almost like solidify... Sorry about the train again, guys. Just a minute. Yeah, so how about those trains?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, if you could count trains, you could probably go to sleep.
Damn near, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's done with the horn. Anyway, again, I'm like a block and a half away from a train crossing, so eventually we'll get that handled. But anyway, what was I saying? So just having a routine to go to sleep, even if it's just basic and rudimentary, can kind of solidify like triggers for your brain to go into sleep mode, because it's like, oh, we're doing this, so it must be time to go to bed.
I think that you hit on something. Patterns.
Yes.
We are very... If I want... The more ingrained I am in a pattern of behavior, the better off my system works. And I've learned that over the years. And I am not, have you guys guessed we're not medical professionals? So this is just our own anecdotal
Don't
experience.
even take our advice, but just listen to it.
But like, yeah, exactly. And then comment on it because I'd like to hear what you guys do. But like with me, if I need to really sleep and I'm out of pattern because life happens, stuff occurs, I know that I need to get some really good heart rate up exercise. And then I have a massive bathtub, Epsom salts, lavender oil, in that thing for a minimum of an hour. And then I do your new music thing. It's funny. I do the same thing. Every once in a while I sit there and I just go through because I like music. And I just and it's that dopamine drip of finding new discovery and joy of discovery.
Oh, for sure.
So if you have all these aspects, heart rate up, which moves chemicals around, detoxing in the tub, warm water, music.
I think I screwed myself last night then, because that's one of my favorite things to do is just A, listen to music, and B, find new music that I enjoy. And so I was getting that dopamine drip, and then my body's like, more.
And you were doing it at the wrong time because you were out of pattern.
I should have done it like in the middle of the day, not like middle of the night.
But
well, normally my pattern is watch like fucking YouTube videos until fucking midnight.
Ugh.
But my brain knows, I'm in the dark watching a phone screen, so I should probably start to trigger the sleep mode. So normally I get almost immediately I start to get drowsy when I start to watch YouTube in my bed.
Isn't that funny? That's your pattern now.
Yeah, but so instead of doing that, I was actually just like actively doing something. I was engaged in something and something I enjoy. So maybe I kind of screwed myself last night, and that's why I couldn't get to sleep. I didn't have my patterns. I was aroused by the stimulus. I don't know.
The stimulus, the $1,200.
The $1,200.
It was the $1,200. Sorry.
Hey, can we get that second? I don't know if you're listening, Trump. I doubt it. But somebody spam Trump with this. Give us that money.
Can we have our tax return for 2022 now?
I'm still waiting on my tax return.
Oh.
There was an issue, and I'm starting to think the IRS ran out of money, and they're just like sweating bullets or something, not giving it to me.
They can't run out of money. The Fed just keeps printing it.
I'm just joking. Hi, IRS. I paid it. I paid you guys. Don't come after me.
By the time you get your stimulus, it'll be worth $600 instead of $1,200.
Exactly.
So it's perfect. It's going to be fun.
That's true. Yeah. I'm sorry we're digressing, but this is important. So money typically depreciates at about 6% a year at this point because of inflation. That's kind of astronomical if you think about it.
That is very
ridiculous.
astronomical.
I think because of like the economic repercussions of COVID-19, I bet you it's going to start depreciating at 10 or more % a year now for a while.
So we
how many trillions did they?
3.
The bailout.
I think it was at least 3.
Sorry, stimulus.
Stimulus was at least 3.
A trillion. Can you guys even like fathom a trillion of anything? Like, our brains aren't supposed to even understand that number. It's
without
too big.
Without computing power, this would have not even occurred.
But when you hear a trillion, you just go, that's a really big number, and that's about as far as your brain can really, truly comprehend that. But 3 of them, money, gone.
Well, some people had fun with it in Vegas.
Think about that for a minute.
With their special bailout loans.
Oh, yeah, they weren't sleeping. Speaking of sleep, you go to Vegas, you're not fucking sleeping. No. I think that city is designed to not sleep.
Well, it's flashy, lighty, yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, sorry, that just brought me to my point. When I went to Alaska on a trip to work, it was during the time of the year where it doesn't get dark for more than 2 hours a day.
Oh, yes.
And especially in Anchorage. And it was just weird to me how just the processes they go through to make sure like rooms are dark during the nighttime. But it was seriously a huge shock to my system to like, it's literally midnight and it's just as bright as it was at like fucking 11 a.m.
Well, I think that's why I don't have trouble falling asleep is I spent a chunk of my childhood up there. That's where I grew up. And so my mother had a terrible time. Hers was in the winter when it was dark all the time. It would affect her dreadfully. But we had people come up. They'd have to tape black plastic to the windows just to fall asleep. It was usually adults. Kids seem to be a little more resilient. Like I had no trouble falling asleep in the summer. But yeah, we couldn't do fireworks because it was light out.
Of course.
But
that's a bummer. You have to stay up till 1 a.m. to light off fireworks.
And even then it was just sort of dusk.
You have like a 20-minute freaking window to even see them.
Deploy the Kraken! No, we just did them all at New Year's because then it was dark the entire day.
Then you have like days of darkness.
Yeah, and actually that never bothered me either. So I don't know if that affects your maybe that chemically imbalances you. I don't know. I think our bodies just adapt.
Yep.
And that's why you have your pattern of YouTube goes to sleep. Your brain's like, okay, this dude does this all the time.
Yes.
This is sleepy time.
And just so everybody knows, if you're going to be using your phone or your TV or your laptop when it's dark out, so your brain is wired to release a chemical called melatonin when the natural sunlight to diminish.
Isn't it going to the red spectrum?
Yeah, when it hits that red spectrum of sunset, your body goes, it is becoming nighttime, and I'm not going to be able to get any work done, so it's going to be relaxed and sleep mode. And so the blue light spectrum that is emitting from your phones can be negated with... I'm pretty sure it's just built into every phone now. There's like a night mode.
The newer phones, yeah. All the new ones, it goes into night mode.
Anything like built within the last 5 years has like a night mode where it... I don't really know how well of a job it does. It seems to work. Mine goes in automatically at 9 p.m. because that's what I set it to, because I don't usually go to bed before 9. So I stop, I guess I stopped surrounding myself with the red light spectrum.
You mean the blue?
Or the blue light spectrum around 9 p.m.
He's sleep deprived.
Yeah, my brain is not firing on all the cylinders today. But anyway, I recommend if you're going to use any kind of like electronic device with a screen to figure out how to use your night mode, because it blocks out the blue light and emits more of a red spectrum, and that helps your brain go, it's nighttime. It's supposed to help with your circadian rhythm.
Well, and help you get to that REM state.
That process where you start to shut down at nighttime. Yeah, and it's just better for REM sleep. And again, REM sleep is the rapid eye movement, REM. And I'm not an expert, don't listen to me, but there's this weird mode your brain goes in called REM sleep. And it's not for the whole time you're sleeping. It's usually from what I've heard, it's about an hour and a half at a time.
Okay.
Where you're in REM sleep. And it's like the deepest mode of sleep. And they call it that because obviously your eyes are moving rapidly, and for whatever reason your eyes start moving. I think that's because you're in a dream state. That's when you dream, is in REM sleep. And but that's when like all of the magic happens when you're sleeping. Like any other form of sleep, you're just shut down, but you're not really doing all the healing and all of the resetting and all that. The other thing apparently that happens in REM sleep is this is where your short-term memories get somehow written into like your long-term memory systems in your brain. So most of the stuff that happened during the day, especially whatever your processes consider as important events during the day, or especially anything that might be related to like the betterment of your survival, those get written in to like permanently to your instinctive modes of your long-term memory. So REM sleep is extremely important. If you don't get a lot of it, your memory is going to suffer highly. Your neuroplasticity is going to diminish like insanely.
Do you think that our diminished amount of sleep as a whole in at least our country is part of the reason why people are just kind of so horrible right now? Because civility really is really at an all-time low. And I sometimes wonder if it's because,
One second. Sorry,
that's
okay.
okay.
Noise real quick.
We've talked about...
It's really hot in here, and the sun is blasting on our back, so I had to
We were roasting a little bit. Well, we'll sleep good, because that makes me want to go sleep. I'm ready for a nap right now.
It's like nap vibes in here now.
I was just thinking, though, that a lot of times I've just noticed this overall progressive growth of a lack of civility, and I just wonder, there's also been this... It's funny, because self-care and wellness is a huge topic of study and talking, but then I also see this huge group of people not doing that at all. Like, they just engage in behaviors that it's all about that... What is that? Self-gratification? Instant gratification?
Yeah.
Because really, there's no higher gratification than getting enough sleep. You can function at your highest form. I'm super guilty of it because, like I said, I have too many things going on. And then okay, that's another thing. How do you get rid of the excess? How do you get rid of your responsibilities and take care of yourself? What do you do?
It's another thing that isn't properly taught to us in a young age, and that's just...
Saying no?
Life management. Not even just time management, but just... life management. Like, we learn all this academic stuff, and I'm sorry, this might offend people. Like, not all of it's very important to learn. Whatever you learn in public school.
How is that offensive?
But like, some people are just not on the same page as me there. I'm pretty sure. But everybody, there's always going to be someone who argues everything. But
that's true. They didn't get enough sleep.
Like, really, in public education system in America specifically, we learn a lot of fluff. And we're gonna do a whole episode on this someday. We keep wanting to, but then we start other subjects.
We're like, let's talk about sleep. We're tired, but we do need to do one on education because we both. I have
but
a lot. Yeah.
There's a huge lack of like practical education as far as like how to manage your life and your time and your responsibilities, how to set proper goals the right way to where you're gonna actually like have a better chance of like accomplishing them. How to manage your money. That's very little taught. Like I did economics class. I actually did it twice. Because the second time I took it, this is an interesting story. I really helped a friend of mine through high school. He struggled like with just getting assignments done and learning, and I wanted to help him a lot. And I kind of tutored him through his homework and stuff. Well, I was in human biology, and I wasn't really a big fan of that class. It was kind of interesting, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't like the teacher or the setting or the classmates, but. My friend, he was doing economics. I'd already taken the class, and so I'd actually just transferred into his class just to kind of help him through it, because he kind of needed like the buddy system. So I did economics class twice, and both times it was just not very important stuff. There was a little bit of important stuff, like I learned a bit about like how to do a budget, but we're talking simple, really simple budgeting. Like you could do that without even taking that class. It's not that complicated. Like you have this much money, and these are your bills, and manage it.
Okay.
Real easy assignments. You learned a little bit about the stock market,
but nothing advanced.
We never really learned proper like education, how money works, why we even have money, the banking system. Nothing like deep into financing.
I learned all that on my own.
That you should know. Exactly. I had to learn all that on my own.
Yeah. Mostly
through conspiracy theory fucking videos that led me down rabbit holes.
Reddit Personal Finance is a wonderful resource.
Exactly. But I've Zeitgeist the movie is awesome, by the way, if you guys want to watch that. There's a little bit about the central banking system, and it's not all tinfoil hatty. There's a lot of actual solid facts in there. It's a really well-made documentary. But there's plenty of other documentaries, too, that aren't even like sort of conspiracy related like those are. But we just don't learn proper management of our life.
Don't you think
at all? Like your parents, I guess, are supposed to teach you that. Maybe that's what they're expected, but they don't, because they never learned it. And they're probably having trouble like managing their own life. There's no instruction book to being a human.
Do you feel like maybe that could sort of be by design for the entire system?
Put the tinfoil hat on, because
I don't even feel it's
you could make a compelling argument that it is.
I don't feel it's tinfoily, because there's no reason why personal finance isn't taught, at least to high school.
Oh, I'm sure there's a reason. It's just out of our hands to even like understand that reason.
Well, because here you have
implement that.
Even our generation, we were preached at, you must go to college if you are going to be successful, right? That was the big trope.
Yep.
Well, the problem is you take a bunch of 18-year-olds that have never been taught anything about finance, and then you drop them in this thing where it's overpriced for value.
Yeah,
and
where's an 18-year-old kid going to get $80,000?
Just sign here, and you can get that $80,000, and here we'll give you a couple credit cards, too.
And they're probably talked into a fucking liberal arts degree by their stupid school counselor.
Well, and that's what
frustrates... Because they probably go to their counselor, and they're like, I don't know what I want to be, and then liberal arts sounds cool.
Yeah, let's
I want to be woke. Sorry, Duncan Trussell. I know you're a liberal arts major.
There's nothing wrong with liberal arts.
I'm not saying it's completely useless, but for $80,000, it fucking is.
We need dreamers, and we need creative people, and we need writers. We need all of that stuff, but we also need a whole bunch of other people, and you don't ever need to pay $80,000.
It's ridiculous. The amount of money that college
for an art history degree. That's just insane to me.
Now, I think one thing that is starting to break because of the cost of college is like that whole fucking elite, like I went to Yale kind of thing. It was like, wow.
I don't think
it almost seems like it doesn't matter what college you go to anymore as long as you have that fucking piece of paper at all.
That proves you're trainable and you can take on debt.
Because it's more about like your personal marketability now rather than what fucking school you gained your piece of paper from.
Yeah, the elitism.
I could be talking out my ass on that, but that's just the way it seems now.
It doesn't feel
used to be
as
like,
much.
Yeah, it used to be like, I went to fucking Yale, I'm definitely going to get the top position no matter what.
And it doesn't feel that way as much anymore. Actually, now admissions...
Aside from Skull and Bones, don't shoot us.
Yeah, don't kill us. I think now it's more about, are you culturally, more of a woke thing. You brought that up. It's like, who are you in context of what's important to the people that run everything?
Yeah.
Are you, and I'm not going to go there because it probably will offend people anyways, but
fucking offend them.
I know. Well, it's just,
Sorry.
do you know what I'm talking about though? It's,
yes.
Instead of it being about the attributes of the individual person, it's about these collected groups of people, and do they fit in the little niches we need to make our PR or our, HR person happy?
Yeah.
And it's like, that makes me sad because you're not valued for who you are then. At all. No. You're just valued. It's like, oh, I'm a Pacific Islander and I went to UC Davis. And it doesn't matter that you have some really cool peer-reviewed research. You're just a cog in their wheel.
We are so defined now by, like, check boxes on, like, a demographic sheet.
It's a Google Forms checkbox.
It's a fucking spreadsheet of demographics. And now we're all defined by that instead of, like, who we are as an individual. It's what political party do we, most relate to, and what religion are we in, and what color is our skin? Where's our ethnic origin? Even
what
though
type of razors do we buy?
Yeah, what patch of dirt on this fucking mud ball flowing through space where you happen to be like coming out of the womb at a certain time? And what time was that at? It's like, are you a fucking Libra? Or are you a Virgo? There's all these weird little like
classification boxes.
Weird classification boxes that we are all defined by, and not like, okay, what's your merits? Who are you? What kind of morals do you support? There's no check boxes for that kind of shit.
No.
I'm sure eventually there will be because they have these standardized tests. I'm doing quotation fingers.
It's not creepy
There's these
at all.
standardized tests of like your personality traits now that they make you do in school. And they're trying to just fit you in as many boxes as they can. And there's more boxes that keep popping up every day.
Isn't that what all those quizzes...
We're not pieces of paper, guys. Come on.
Isn't that what all those friendship quizzes are on Facebook? It's just data mining.
Data mining, yeah.
But those kinds of things. What's your favorite color?
If you take that test that says which members of Friends are you, the show Friends. This is America. I don't know how many people have seen it in other countries. If there's listeners across the pond.
Yes.
I hope you've heard of the show Friends. But there's this popular sitcom called Friends that happened, in was it the 90s?
Still the mid 90s.
Well, there's all these stupid quizzes I see all the time. What character from this show are you?
Have you ever cared?
Or let's just say Harry Potter. Everybody knows Harry Potter.
Like Harry.
What fucking Harry Potter character are you? You take these quizzes, stupid quizzes on Facebook. There's these like really shallow questions that have nothing to do with anything. It's just like an archetypal placement, I guess. But what that does is like, if you're a certain character, then it literally just tells, okay, I'm going to advertise to that specific character these specific ads. It's literally
it's data mining. That's all it is.
It really is. You're just like giving away this information about you in order to be advertised to.
And
that's just the internet, though. I mean, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now. I could go deep, but
do you feel like it makes you less valuable as an individual when you're just marketed to based on your preferences? Like, I want to be a Hufflepuff, and so that means that they want to try to sell you Lucky Charms because you're a happy person that likes vibrant colors.
I think that's exactly what it is.
I feel like that's how that's becoming.
These marketing experts, I mean, really, they're fucking geniuses. Don't get me wrong, but these marketing experts are really good at like, this particular trait of person will definitely be interested in this particular set of products.
We've been reduced.
And then they market themselves as a company like, hey, I can get you more people to buy your product because I have the data that says this type of person likes this type of product, and I have the platform to push it because everybody wants to take these dumb quizzes online.
So we've been reduced to market share.
Freaking genius. Like I think personally I should have went into marketing because I understand so much about the psychology of marketing, but I don't know. It just feels dirty. I've never liked the idea. It always felt dirty to me.
Well, there's
I'm sorry, we went way off the rails of sleep here, but like...
We're next to a train track. Can't we derail?
Yeah, exactly.
But it has to do with sleep because sleep is an individual thing. You said we all have to... It's something that is... It is a collective. We all have to do it, but everybody does it differently. Everybody has a different requirement. Everybody has different problems with sleep.
Yeah.
And then everybody is trying to deal with it in different ways.
That's true. We all do have our own little ways of dealing with it. And some people's way of dealing with it is not to deal with it at all and build up this massive deficit. And then they wonder why they're depressed and anxious.
Or they get cancer.
Why the suicide rate in the world's going up. Why health is declining. I don't even know if actually health is really declining.
Or we just pay attention to it now. Sometimes I think that about everything.
That's just what CNN says.
Well, I think that a lot of this stuff has always existed. It's just that we are more connected and more aware of things now.
Yeah, okay, good example. Cancer alone is one of those things where it definitely existed forever. For everything that was alive, it's just like some kind of a mutation in your cells that it can't stop growing.
Well,
it's like it wasn't even really that known of a thing until what was like 100 years ago.
Well, think about it though, Brady. Because of our interventions in medicine, where most people died of heart when they got older, like valves and stuff wore out before the cancer could even get them. Now that we extended life beyond that, then there's this thing that's lurking there that once your cell dividing gets foobarred, you're gonna grow things like that. That system gets corrupted. And part of that is because you don't take care of yourself. Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof Coffee guy, he's a massive biohacker, and he wants to be the first person to live to 180. He is studying all of these ways to get beyond that. And if you don't take care of all of those systems and functions that renew yourself every day, it's called autophagy. I probably am saying it wrong, but that's
I like that word. It sounds like a cool band name.
Well, because you're... Sorry, he just derailed me. Your body renews itself. And if you can keep that system going without being corrupted, you can live a lot longer than the cap is there. Unless there are some things you can't account for, like getting hit by a car.
Unfortunately, there is just a limit on how long you can live, no matter what you do.
There is.
Back to the story of, it was one of the damn Rockefellers or Rothschilds or something. One of them fucking people everybody thinks is in the Illuminati had like 9 heart transplants.
I think that's so wasteful.
It was probably fake news, but I do remember the headlines. Because they were sensationalized to all shit. So like this guy had like 9 heart transplants. It probably wasn't 9, but when you have more than one, it's probably just your time.
Also, did they kill people in China to take those hearts? Like, you've heard of that whole thing, the black market thing. Yeah. Well, I mean, where did they get all these hearts? And that's another thing. The transplant list is supposed to be non-biased. Was it biased? Or is that clickbait news?
No, it could be clickbait news. Everything's fucking clickbait news.
That's true. You just have to write it a certain way. Like, we could talk about how if you don't get enough sleep, bad things will happen to you.
Hey,
click to read more.
Quick poll for the listeners. Should we sensationalize the podcast and make it ridiculous?
For fun? I'd be okay for fun. I don't
want to spoof, like a satire, but...
I love satire.
Sensationalization is so weird nowadays.
It really is, right? Like, every news article on the planet is so much more boring and convoluted than what they're like, this person did this!
Quickly back to the topic of sleep.
Because the train's coming.
Yeah, the train's coming.
Yeah. The sleep train.
I'm telling you guys, how long's it been since the last train? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
It's sort of busy today.
It's I don't know what they're freaking hauling all day over here, but Jesus.
This one sounds very urgent, too.
It's like probably, the train hub capital of the damn world right now.
They probably got a load of hydrochloric acid. They don't want to spill it.
Spoiler alert, next episode is just about trains.
No way.
And there's going to be a few important cameos by trains. I think they're done with the horns again. I apologize for the trains again, guys, but you know what? You can deal with it. That's just life.
Also, it means that we're authentic because Brady stresses so much about audio quality because that's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
And I think our audio quality is good, but I also like that there's a bit of real life in there. You know what? Everybody starts somewhere. Pretty
sure there was a couple cow moos in some of the episodes we did in the trailer.
Absolutely. And I'll take the 1%er trailer. I'll take credit for those cow moos.
Yeah. But back to what I was saying with sleep. I kind of lost my train of thought, if you will. God damn it. Puns are great. Do you happen to remember what the
I've gotten off track.
Oh, crap. Derailed. There was something kind of like awesome I was just about to bring up on sleep. But anyway.
But see, you're sleep deprived, so you can't remember.
I am sleep deprived. See, my memory is suffering because I didn't get enough sleep last night. My body is just not working at its full potential today.
Do you think this episode will put people to sleep?
If it does, at least it's useful.
That's true. We committed a service to mankind, right?
Yeah.
Humankind.
The planet's kind of aligned in a way where both of us just happen to be sleep deprived today, so you can tell in like the tone of our voice probably.
That we're pretty...
I'm not as chipper today or energetic.
No, like Flavortown episode.
Flavortown!
I enjoyed that one and we were giggly today.
God, that was a good episode.
It was. See, but we got sleep.
Yeah,
I know we did.
We had a lot of sleep the night before that.
Exactly, and we were feeling excited because,
The other thing I've noticed, especially the night before I know we're going to record.
Yeah.
I get so antsy.
Do you really?
And I almost never sleep very well the night before I know we're going to record an episode.
Really?
My brain starts racing with all these things I want to talk about and how just about the show itself and like ways to market it and what we can do for the people who are listening. And because we want to give to you guys more than just, this show.
Exactly. I get anxiety.
We're going to eventually too, but like we're just we're really at a slow crawl here on the.
Well, we're also we try to be responsible adults. I think I get a lot of angst about it during the day, every day, because I want to be accomplishing more, and I think that's another thing too. Maybe that other podcasters share, and just other people. Period. Is you get excited about something and you want to produce, and then you have this finite amount of energy and finite amount of time. And so then you either put the work in and grow and build on that anxiety or angst, whatever it is, or you just quit.
Yeah. Sleep is a very valuable commodity as well as time itself, because you have to spend some of that time to sleep.
You have to.
Let us know in the comments or in social media, like what you think is more valuable, sleep or time.
Or both?
I'm saying I'm on the team time.
I like to look at time as currency. And I have a limited amount of currency.
I think it really is, because to gain any actual like monetary currency, you have to trade time. That's the one thing everything converts down to in what you're trading for currency. It's time. And
sleep yields interest if you think about it.
Kind of,
because if you get the correct amount of investment in it, you're going to produce. Your investment's going to produce. I mean, it really is. The next day, if you get the proper amount of sleep consistently, I'm not talking about just one night here because of the deficit. You're going to produce at your best, right?
Yeah. No
matter what life throws at you. And you also have to learn to say no.
That's true. Well, that's a big, important lesson, saying no.
Yeah.
Just don't say no to sleep, guys.
No.
One thing I hope you all take from this episode is just how important it is to get a good amount of sleep and quality sleep. And I encourage you guys, because again, I didn't want this episode to be about advice because everybody's different. No. But I challenge you to maybe speak to a medical professional or get online and do some research.
Actual professional advice. Like, you don't even have to talk to the person. Just there's plenty of things.
And educate yourself on how you can manage your sleep, manage your time, manage your life. And that's something I've been trying to work on lately, and we all should, because there's no instruction manual. You have to put in the time and effort.
And learn what works for you.
So you have to trade some of that currency of time to, to learn these kind of things, to educate yourself. It's very important.
I'd also like to throw this out here. I would love to learn how you guys allocate your time and your sleep, or to get the sleep, or how you guys do it. I would love to have a conversation about that, because I learn from other people. That's my thing.
Please jump on our social media pages. It doesn't matter if you're listening to this a year later after it's posted. Just get on and tell us how do you get to sleep at night? What's your favorite or preferred, I guess, process or pattern? However you do it. Do you take any chemicals melatonin pills? Do you Z-Quil yourself out every night? What do you do?
Do you kickbox yourself into a coma? What do we do? You
take methamphetamine for 3 days to stay up and then take a bunch of heroin to go to sleep? I don't know.
I feel like that's not self-care.
You probably shouldn't do that. It's possible. It's something you can do.
You need a liver.
I'm not recommending any drug use whatsoever.
I'm just curious. Well, I would like to know about this. And hey, you can email us at goeyetheshow@gmail.com. We will reply to you, because honestly, this whole thing is about a conversation. Because I do. Yeah. I learn from other people way better. I like anecdotal things. And then I just gist it with all the other stuff I read. And we appreciate your guys' input.
That is something to talk about real quick. It's there's so much anecdote everywhere you look from everybody. Mm-hmm. Always take people's anecdotes, but also maybe compare them to some kind of objective fact.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Gisting. You've got to gist it again, and then you got to throw it against actual scientifically method drawn. And it's really hard work, people. I think that's why everybody just thinks anecdote is true all the time. Good point.
The reason I'm saying that is because our entire show is anecdotal.
We don't want you to take this as law.
Please don't take any of the things that we say as objective fact. But if you're interested in anything that we're saying, maybe go and research the objective facts about it, especially when it comes to sleep.
And I think that's a good place to end that.
That's a great place to end that. So
night.
Good night, everybody. And as you know, we like to end every episode off with a positive news article.
And this week's positive news article is from the Positive News Network, and it's called Problem Solving Through Sleep. And, we're all sleep deprived, but actually we shouldn't be, because a lot of our problems could be solved with some good old-fashioned night-night time.
So don't forget to check that out in the description of the YouTube video. And hit us up on social media. Let's have a discussion about what we talked about. And if you're on YouTube, please hit that like button. It helps to support us and give us good demographic data. Thank you.